Hi, welcome to EDSC 531. This is Professor Bobo, and it is week two. This is the week two video. So I want to share my screen and show you what we should be working on for the week. Under the week two tab, we have my instructor's video, and then you have a discussion board as well as your case study that is due this week. The case study is according to the assignment, you have to select two scenarios, and with those two scenarios, you're going to write an essay about those two scenarios using APA format. This week, you should be reading chapters 3 and 4. And I am going to now go ahead and talk a little bit about chapters 3 and 4. So in chapters 3 and 4, they talked about using data to inform and advocate for small group counseling practices. So here were some tier 2 activities that were in the book. When a student is exhibiting barriers to learning, or when a student is struggling to achieve with academic success, or if they are identified as deserving of instruction and in support and or supports in additional to the tier 1 activities, such as your foster youth students experiencing homelessness. These are all the reasons for a tier 2 level. Okay. Some best practices for small groups. You always want to create your small groups, which is driven by the data. So you're looking at your attendance, your behavior, your work study habits. These are all the data that you collect in order to determine who fits in the tier 2 section. And they are predetermined and agreed upon. So as a counseling team or as a school, you guys meet together to determine which student would fall in this small group category, and that they're pre-scheduled and they're calendared. So as a school counselor, this can sometimes become very difficult because you have to keep up with those small groups. So you're going to meet with them weekly or every other week at a given time. So it's really important that you make each one of those small group interventions. And then you're going to use a screening element in order to make sure that they fit, even though they might meet the data, but maybe there's another criteria or some other characteristic that that particular student has that would make them not a good fit for that particular small group. And then it should be a short term basis. So like I was saying earlier, 8 lessons, 6 lessons. I have throughout my time I started with 6 to 8, then moved down to 3 to 6 because of the time and the commitment and the holidays and other events that are on the campus. And then the students are also in so many other small groups. So if your small group is focusing on the counseling, or any type of skill set involved in the counseling, then they also have their academic small groups. Like we have the learning loss groups now that are focusing on language arts and math. And then that person can have RSP or an IEP. So it becomes difficult to get them into all of their groups. They're content specific and aligned with data driven needs. They include ongoing progress monitoring. So you're going to do a pre and post test with those small groups. Even with counseling, you're going to do something. They're going to answer some questions or something that that the students will demonstrate what they know prior to your 8 sessions or 6 sessions or 3 sessions, and then again give them those same and see if they are able to answer them with more detail when you've completed those lessons. You're going to measure results and the impact that the lessons had. What did you need to change? What went well? What were the strengths? What were the weaknesses? And empower them to make a systematic change. Here are some examples of some common groups that were listed in the book: attendance, discipline referrals, and suspensions, courses, homework completion, and course failure. Now, one of the things to really recognize with counseling is that we are not teachers. So some of us, do have a teaching degree and teach. But when we're working on this counseling program and we're talking about small groups, we're talking about things that we're going to address academically to help them grow, but it would be about goal setting or task mastery or organizational skills. We're not going to focus on language arts skills like a reading or a math or remediation for any of those areas, because or tutoring or focusing on specific language arts skill sets or specific math skill sets. Like we're not going to run a fat families group or something like that, because when we do those things, that's moving away from counseling. Yes, it is the academic aspect of it. But for the counseling academic aspect, we're talking about, fails and use and things of that nature. So we want to make sure that the students are preparing themselves to be able to get to the high school level, the middle school level, and also to the college level. So we want to focus on giving them the skills that would help them with that. This also came from the book, this table. So this is the sample data elements for group counseling. So for example, if you're going to do an academic skills or an academic mindset or a study skills or a goal setting, you would use the data from a report card, coursework completion, or grades. And then an example of that was 3 or more ends, less than 60% completion, or 2 or more Fs, okay? If you're doing conflict resolution, emotional management, peer relationship, or social skills, you're looking at office and discipline referrals, report cards, citizenships with ends, and if there's 3 or more ends, then ends being for needs improvement. Um, Next, these were sample curriculums. This refers to what we'll be doing in our group, as we talked about for our group assignment. And you're going to create 8 lessons. So this is a sample small group curriculum. And in week 1, introduction and purpose of the group. Week 2, goal setting, self-assessment. Week 3, organizing myself. Week 4, organizing materials for learning. Week 5, strategies for completing classwork. Week 6, strategies for completing homework. Week 7, goal setting, self-assessment, and review. And then week 8 is closure. So again, we're focusing on those topics. So this could apply to any student who's academically failing, but this is what the counselor would then pull the group together and focus on these areas and giving them strategies to improve the grades in that area. But none of that is focusing specifically on a language arts skill or a math skill or a science skill. It is about strategies to help you organize and get through your work. In chapter 4, we talked about group facilitation skills and the MTSS model, okay? So, what schools counselors address is academic, career, college and career, and social emotional development needs by designing, implementing, evaluating, and enhancing a comprehensive school counseling program that promotes and enhances student success. So, we are focusing on making sure that the students receive their needs in academic, career, college and career, and social emotional development. So this is the MTSS model for school counseling. In Tier 1, we're talking about district-wide school activities, individual student planning, and district core curriculums. Second step is a district core curriculum for emotion. So this is something that every student would receive. In our district, in Hawthorne School District, every teacher has access for 5 years to the second step curriculum. And they are going to be delivering those SEL lessons in the classroom. And this is part of their instructional time. So they have added that to their instructional schedule. And that's why we call it a tier one, because everybody is getting that particular curriculum. Now, is everyone teaching it? That's a whole nother question. But everyone has access to it and it is available. So if a teacher begins to have concerns about SEL or students not accessing the curriculum or their social emotional learning, then the district would say, well, we've trained you, we've had several trainings on second step. This is where you're supposed to be implementing that curriculum and it's available for you. So you should be using this in the classroom. Now, if they don't get it or something like that, then a school counselor can come in and assist them with that curriculum because we also have been trained in that curriculum. All right, the next level is the tier two, which is what we've been talking about in chapters 3. So this gives small group individual referrals to resources and consultation and collaboration. And so not everybody's going to get a tier two strategy. And as you can see, you flow through the tiers. So you can be a tier one in November, then you can be a tier two. In December, you can go back to a tier one, and then you can go, you may need a tier three depending on a certain event that may have taken place in your life, and now you become a tier three individual. And they said don't say tier three individual, but you need a tier three strategy. That's the wording that we should be using. That particular student now needs a tier three strategy because of something that has happened. I have this YouTube here that is from the Hatch results, which is referenced in our book. And I'll be playing that for you during one of our class sessions. And these are the three areas for us: academic, college and career, and social emotional. So here's an example of what a tier two for college and career domain is. In K-8, rarely tier two college situations for K-8 mostly include supports for a special population like first generation. And why not? Because it's a K-8 situation. 9, 10, and 11. So let's look at that for high school. Short on credits to be eligible for college. AP potential, qualified but didn't apply to college, applied but under matching, no FAFSA or scholarship apps, showing early signs of melting or summer melting, special populations historically underrepresented, foster homeless, EL students with disabilities, undocumented, etc. So these are all examples of what a tier two support would be for the college and career domains. All right, that is my information on chapters 3 and 4. Please be sure to complete your assignments, and I will see you week 3. Thank you.